This podcast sponsors by Stichting Noodopvang Vluchteling Nijmegen, Stichting Huis van Compassie Nijmegen in Nederland. Welcome back to our podcast van HVC aan Sloof in Nijmegen. Hello everyone. Hello our visitor.
Hello.
Hello, hi. Yeah, what we have for today? Today we have special guest here, Salix Hjerrild from USA, Greensboro,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And 4 years living in Europe, and active students and doing a lot of voluntary job around during her study. So I'm so glad to have you here, Salix.
Thank you.
And one more thing, I have also surprise for you later.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes, it's a good surprise also,
Yeah.
I will say. Yeah. So what we have today, we are talking about superpower and education. That's really good themes. I really like it. I think it's gonna help our young people, listeners from Nijmegen, around Nijmegen. So I would like you to start with a little bit introduction about this two tema.
Yeah.
Please.
So, as Hemmen stated, my name is Salix, and I am from the US. I grew up in the southern states, and throughout my life, I've moved quite a bit. I've lived in Denmark for about 10 years, but I moved back to the US at some point. And now this round, I'm studying in Denmark and I'm on an exchange in the Netherlands. And that's what brings me here. But the reason I wanted to talk about education as a superpower and asking questions as a superpower is before my current education, where I'm studying social work, I studied as an artist and as an educator. And I also worked as a teacher and writing curriculum. And sort of my own experience going to school and growing up in a public school system and then becoming a teacher and learning about sort of radical education methods and the power of children and the power of the way that young people think is one of my favorite things to think about. And so that's why I wanted to talk about asking questions and education, because it puts the power in the young people.
Exactly, which is very important for our living together. Have you been in any school in Netherlands?
I've only been in this at the Han in Arnhem,
Yes.
the professional school, and that's the first time I've been to the school in the Netherlands.
Did you see something, if you compare the schools you have been there before and this school in Arnhem?
Yeah.
If you name one thing, the big difference for you.
Yeah. Well, I can compare it to, so I'm going to school now in Denmark, and so I'm on exchange in Arnhem. And I think one of the differences is the sort of engagement that the teachers bring. I think it's cultural. In Denmark, there's more quiet. People are more quiet. And in the Netherlands, people can be a little bit more engaged. But I think that has more to do with that it's an international education. And so there are a lot of people coming from different parts of the world together at the school that I'm at. And
okay, that's why I'm going to the first question here. But when did you first realize that curiosity can be powerful?
That is a very good question, and I can tell you with two examples. So one is, and both of them are centered around being a kid and also being a teacher and wanting to change things about the schools I was in. So when I was about 9 years old, like I said, I just went through the public school system in the South, an underfunded public school system in the South. And in the US, when I was growing up, the narrative you learn about our history is one of like discovery and exploration, and you learn about Christopher Columbus. And when I was about 9, we had this lesson about Christopher Columbus discovering this land, and my teacher opened the question, do you agree with this story or not? And I was very quiet as a kid, and I was really shy, and I shook my head no. And I was really hoping that she wouldn't call on me, but she did. And she called on me to ask why I shook my head no. And then, I was learning a different narrative at home about that history. And she made it possible to talk about that. And that's not part of the curriculum when I was growing up, to question that history. But the ability to question that history was a good thing, because it made it possible for us to actually name the truth and name a more complex history that was about colonialism and had a violent history, not just one that was censored.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell us about your path into education?
Yeah. So, well, my path into being a student and also being a teacher was one where I felt very bored with school.
Being a teacher, to be bored in school, what about the students?
As a student, I felt bored a lot, and I felt like, why am I here? And what am I doing? And why are they teaching me these things? And there must be more. And so that is what made me want to keep going and sort of pursue other kinds of education. And that's also what made me want to be a teacher and pursue like studying education. Because I wanted to figure out what are other ways to teach, and what are other ways to have a school, and what are other ways to learn that like send that think of children's knowledge as important, and the communities we're a part of as important and part of our school.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Why did you believe asking questions is a superpower?
Well, I think asking questions is a superpower, because that is the only way to change things that you don't agree with. Once you name those things and you ask why they're happening and where they're coming from and who they affect and who has power and who has less power and what can we do about it, then we can start not just talking to each other.
Yeah.
But when we ask those questions, we're talking to each other, and when we're talking to each other, we make it possible to do things together.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, a kind of education.
Yeah. Do you have a tips for people who has still not there sometimes to ask a question in the group? I'm facing to this almost every week here by our work.
Yeah, like feeling like you don't
not safe to ask a question. I have sometimes maybe it happened to me in the past also. I wanted to ask some questions. I said, okay, is my questions like a little bit not so unsecure about myself? Like, okay, if I ask a question, this question's gonna is a fit the group of the thema of what. But in my head, it's perfect. But sometimes when you ask the question, then it's not really like how you like to be there, like to ask a question and then to have kind of safety in your side. Do you have some tips for that?
Yeah, I think I would say it is also the responsibility of everybody in that room to maybe find other ways that those questions can be asked. So it's not just the person who feels maybe shy or feels like their question isn't good enough. Yeah. It's also the responsibility of the other people in the room to create a possibility for that. So what are the ways we can ask questions? Well, we can, even write them down or tell another person next to us. And then that other person can maybe verbalize that or say that out loud. I also think that, that makes a lot of sense that one would feel that way. I've felt that way. Yeah. And I think it takes just practice.
So I would say practice and prepare because of the language. Also, we have a meeting here.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are speaking Dutch of not enough English, of only speaking own language perfectly. Which okay, fine. But I always tell everyone, if you have something, write it down in your language first, and then we will have a look later.
Yeah.
So we face to this here.
Yeah.
But always, we are always telling everyone here, please do not shy. Write it down, send it to however you are comfortable.
Yeah. And that's a good way. When I was teaching high schoolers, they can be very quiet. I had, like a messaging system online. So if you had a question, you could send it as a text message or send it as like a digital anonymously too. And then people felt a lot more empowered to ask. But then over time, you realize, okay, all of these questions are addressed, and then you feel more comfortable and safe just asking the question. It's also about building the kind of space to ask those questions.
And isn't it also to do with the starting with this? For example, we are talking about the meeting. To start with the meeting, the one who's guiding the group. Create this, to give a router. To, like we call it here, popcorn style, like to not just start with you, the one who's always sit in the left side, say you are the first one, second one, third, kind of obligation to create this obligation style to every, okay, you must, but sometimes here we say, okay, popcorn style, like the popcorn in the pan, and then say, okay, who wants here? You can also be in this meeting to not participate as a speaking of what, but you can listen, you can learn something, you take something with you outside. That's also possible, let's say. My meaning was like more is about like the guider who's guiding this group is better to think about when they see the people, they have a different target groups, then okay, I cannot be so in that level to ask the question, which some of them can miss, because it's happened by us also. Like people came say, oh, at the end of the meeting, I said, did you understand something? Then I have no clue what happened here. I said, okay, then it's just better to take also, like to give some time to people to think about which target group you have. Then how can we become better listeners while asking better questions?
Well, kind of like the idea that when we name things and when we say what's happening and we talk to each other about it and we ask each other questions about it as a sort of natural way of talking, then we can do something about it. That I think is how, asking questions also makes you a good listener, because you start learning that, well, this person sitting with me, or these many people sitting with me, they have really complicated thoughts and feelings and lives just like mine. And this kind of empathizing is both sort of like an inherent human ability, but it's also something that we practice. And so when you ask questions, then you also have to hear what the person is saying to you. Or you also have to hear things you maybe don't want to hear. And that is a good skill to practice, and that I think is just asking questions is a skill of a good listener.
And is it also like body language? Can you also tell us like how you can listen? I know I'm talking, you are listening. A lot of listeners also listening. But what about right now? Maybe you are at the same time busy with something else. Then how we became a good listener in this way? Like, is the body language also help? How, if yes?
Well, the way of asking questions and the way of answering questions doesn't just happen verbally. There's so many ways to do that. So one thing that makes me think of is there is an account of a group of students who were teenagers, and they disagreed with a decision that their school made, and the way that they sort of asked the question about why did you do that is they organized a protest where they at the same time got up and left the school. And so that's a kind of like physical movement that is also a question about why did this happen and why is this the case, and I would call that a kind of body language also.
Yeah.
And then in more like casual conversations, it's about having, I mean, practicing that empathy is also seeing, well, how is this person sitting and how is this person looking at me?
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We also sometimes do not like everyone using the smartphone. Sometimes you're in a meeting, you are talking with someone or for the group, and you see like more often people busy with the telephone. And sometimes for my meetings, I say, are you using your telephone? No, I'm writing down something on my telephone. I'm writing the meeting. So I say, okay, maybe it's fine to tell us before, hello everyone. Like also instead of using laptop, you use your telephone. It's really maybe better all in one. Then you can find always easy everything. Sometimes I just think that, oh, are you using your telephone? I said, no, I'm writing down the notizie, for our meeting. I said, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. So this is also like, it's better, I would say it's better also to tell before the meeting start, and people cannot pay attention too much in this way. Like sometimes it create a negative, how to say, negative.
Like a friction.
Yeah, like the one next to you, constant busy with the telephone, and you are listening, and then it's annoying sometimes. So this kind of, okay, you have a lot of different style of listening, like of participating with the meeting also. That's it. Okay, now what keeps you inspired to continue learning?
What keeps me inspired to continue learning is getting frustrated with the my schools and feeling like, I feel solidarity with the students I go to school with, and feeling like, I want more for the students and not that it's a bad system entirely, but I think as long as you keep asking, why are we doing this? Why is it being done this way? Then only effective change will come out of that. So, and what relevance does this have for my community and for the community that we're a part of?
Yeah.
That's what inspires me to keep learning, because
so far in Denmark,
yeah,
you have been, of course, in a lot of schools in Denmark, and compared to USA, what can, if you name, you can change it in Denmark, what you would change in the system? As a big thing, it's a system to nurture, but your idea for this, because you are living with the students and
Yeah. One thing is that I would, well, one thing is because in the US, a lot of people are under an oppressive system, and a lot of people are aware of that, and a lot of people want to teach something that maybe isn't part of the curriculum that the federal government says needs to be in the curriculum or can't be.
Everywhere, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just from my experience, then I have teachers there who are like, I know this isn't part of the school system, but this is important history that you need to know.
Yeah.
And that is less so the case in Denmark. People have a stronger relationship with their government.
Yeah.
And they trust their government, and so there are less questions asked about what they're learning. But one example is Denmark has a colonial history, but that is not fundamentally part of the school's curriculum. Yeah. So I would like to see those kinds of truths be told in school in a nuanced way. I think that I would like to see also teachers take more accountability for teaching things that maybe the state doesn't tell you to teach, but people still need to learn.
Yeah, we would like to hear in the future about Netherlands, because you are someone who educated and experienced a lot, and you have a backpack from a lot of experience. You welcome to Netherlands, let's say. I would like to in the future to hear also about how the systems works, especially in the Han University.
Yeah, after some more time, yeah.
Yeah, of course, take your time about it. Salix, I actually now is a surprise time, I believe. Was a surprise. as someone who produced this podcast, I believe is now it's the second year, and we had before we start with the English podcast in University Han in Nijmegen, which with Benjamin and Ahmed, and they did it really well. They have brought this podcast till end of last year, and from this year January we start also podcast in Netherlands language, Netherlands taal, and we have been interviewing also people. And now I was thinking to continue again in English, and I was looking for someone like you actually here because I have a lot to do myself. I would like to ask you as a host to take this podcast.
That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, please. Yeah, you can also think about. But best listeners, maybe next time will be Salix hosting here.
Oh yes, next time I'll be asking the questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Salix, for your time. And I would say, best listener, thank you also for listening. Till next time.
Bye bye. Thank you for having me.